Well, please share with me more details about your book.
All right. So the issues of human free will, something we've been talking about for centuries and arguing back and forth. I really tried to take a fresh look at it more from a science point of view, uh, arguing about the philosophical issues is not something we can do experiments on. But it strikes me, I've talked to many scientists who accept the idea of free will and many who say, no, no, there could not be any such thing. And what strikes me is they have the same understanding of how behavior is produced. They both believe even that the human mental system by which our minds and brain cause us behavior, that this is unique in the world. No other animal has anything like this with understood moral responsibility and laws and governments and economic systems and all these complicated things that we do. So they're just arguing about whether this marvelous newly evolved evolutionary system deserves to be called free will. So that's a terminological issue. What I'm trying to get to, let's understand the scientific problem is, how does this marvelous thing work? What sets us apart from the other animals? One, for example, is we can project into the future and simulate, well, if I do this, it will lead to this, and then they'll do that, and then this, and so on. And ultimately, oh, no, I don't want it to end up that way. So how about if I do something else, and then they'll react this way, and so on. Project these multiple simulations of the future and then bring the result back to the present and use it to guide our behavior. Being able to do that, certainly makes you freer than if you're not able to have this kind of thinking. So that's one important advance. And understanding how the human mind integrates across time, that's one aspect of it. Another is that ideas can cause behavior, that we change how we act based on abstract understanding of moral principles, or, as I said, just the laws of the land, or promises you made a long time ago, or religious ideas, or political ideals. So that's another advance that makes us freer in our actions than animals who cannot do any such thing.
Yes.
In my own lab work, what led me into it was the limited willpower finding. We called it in the scientific literature. It's called ego depletion, and it shows that that willpower there is such an energy resource in the self. And after you use it, say by resisting temptation or making some hard decisions or whatever, then you have a bit less for a while. So that's a time of vulnerability when you might give in to temptation or let someone talk you into something, or do something that you might regret later on. That was sort of the lead in for me.
Yeah.
If you read the philosophy books about free will, they talk about self-control is important, and they talk about rational choice of making good decisions. That's important too. But they had no way of showing these two are connected, because philosophers just work with ideas and theories very, very carefully. Whereas we, in the psychology laboratory, we can show that after you make a lot of decisions, your self-control is worse, and vice versa. After you exert self-control, you start making decisions in a more casual, superficial manner, leading to not doing what's really best for you in the long run. So that's the kind of thing we feature in the book, to give people idea. In practice, the moral agent is one. We'll all do that. We know what's right and wrong. We don't always do it right, but often we do. We let those things influence us. If we're going to go on something more questionable, we think about how can we justify it and explain it to other people, things like that. Economic marketplace is another thing unique to humans, where we exchange money. And Matt Ridley, in his recent book, said this is not a new thing. Trade is 10 times older than farming. I mean, we think farming is, the dawn of civilization 10 or 12,000 years ago. And to think 10 times that old, 100,000 years ago, there's evidence that humans were already trading things. So economic agent has to understand ideas of quantity, how many fish for how many beaver pelts or whatever it is that you're trading. It's a form of cooperation. We forget that. It's easy to think, well, in the marketplace, the seller wants a higher price, the buyer wants a lower price, so they're fighting back and forth. But what we miss out in that is that they're both better off. The seller wants to sell, the buyer wants to buy, and if they can find a place where their acceptable prices overlap, they're both happy. They're both better off.
Yeah.
Human evolution. The basis of my thinking is the human mind was made by nature for culture. It
Mhm.
was created by evolution, of course, but the way we evolved was to organize our society with these things like economic marketplaces and moral systems. Um, Cooperation and communication are the two ways that the human mind is really far advanced from any other animals. It's
Yeah.
obvious with communication. All human societies have language. Nobody's ever found an exception,
Yep.
and no animals have anything that linguists would say, okay, that counts as a language. They do bark and squawk and they communicate a little bit with each other, but nothing like a human language. So, this is one of the essential features that makes us human. And culture is a system for communicating and cooperating.
Yeah.
Like I said, the marketplace, they're both better off if they can trade.
Yes. Yes. And the book's name is The Science of Willpower and Self-Control. Is that correct?
It's called The Science of Free Will.
The Science of Free Will. Okay. My apology.
Yeah. No,
What?
no, don't apologize. I actually had an earlier book called Willpower that I wrote with
Oh,
John Tierney, who was the New York Times science writer. And the book was actually a bestseller, and it was on the New York Times charts for a couple months,
yeah.
Amazon, and so on. So that really summarized our scientific work about self-control and limited willpower. So the free will thing is it's just taking the argument a big step further,
Mm.
saying, what does this tell us about the basic nature of the human mind?
Okay. And when you decided to write these books, tell me about your vision.
Okay, so you don't actually mean my eyes. And
I could see those.
okay, I was saying I had the laser
Yeah,
surgery. But
yeah,
okay, no, you mean like the idea vision. Um,
absolutely.
well, the exciting thing about a problem like free will is it's one of the classic debates, and it goes to what kind of creatures are we? And
Mhm.
um, given the unusual career I've had in psychology, I think I'm in a unusually good position to really ask and try to answer some of those questions. So, because I've studied many different areas of psychology, I write what scientists call literature reviews, where instead of doing an experiment yourself, which
Yeah.
might take a year, you go and read all the experiments that other people have done and try to put them
Mhm.
together, and you can address big questions like that. So, what is the essence of being human? That's one of those, and certainly whether we have free will in the sense that we can choose to act differently in the same situation and alter and adjust our behavior, including based on ideas and how we imagine the future, things
Yeah.
like that. Uh, that's really an important aspect of the human mind. Um, so that's the vision, was to really try to understand that from working in.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. My security guard is barking. One
Okay.
moment, please. All right. So we're back on my sincere apology. I'm so sorry. Of course, that will be edited out and everything else. We were, of course, speaking about your book, The Free Science of Free Will. And we were just talking about how we as humans can utilize free will, willpower to actually direct us into where we're going, or how we see life. That's what I took from our discussion, because I realized that we don't normally think about things like that. I think we're just doers, and we're not really sitting here thinking about things like that. Um, And when you decided to write this book and the other book that you have written, what more do you want us to learn, or people to learn, or even the viewers to learn about this?
Well, the limited aspect of willpower is important to understand and to manage. Hold on, I'm getting someone. I'm just on a podcast. Let me. So
We got it. We're all over the place today, Roy. How are we?
I know. This is my friend from France has been trying to call me.
No
Um,
worries.
so, so let's go back to what else do people want to know.
Yeah.
Um, it's clear, as you said, good self-control and rational decision-making, enlightened self-interest. All of these help you to live a better life and to be more successful. Early in my career, for example, I studied self-esteem because there was a period when we thought, oh, the big problem in life is people don't have enough self-esteem, and that makes them not take chances or whatever. But that didn't work out very well. Self-esteem is more a result of success in life than a cause of it. It makes you take a more optimistic spin. If you have high self-esteem, you like yourself better, but you don't actually do any better. Whereas self-control, very much the opposite. Self-control measured early leads to success later. There are these studies in Britain where they tracked thousands and thousands of people over many years, and the kids who were rated as having better self-control by their teachers when they were 9 years old end up having a better employment history as adults and being less likely to be cigarette addicted smokers and various other things. Earn more money in life, more popular, better relationships. So, uh, so I came away from all that with my advice to parents and teachers and coaches and things. Forget about self-esteem. Concentrate on building self-control. That's really what produces the best results in the long run.
Roy, and I'm so eager to ask you, with all of these words and self-control and willpower and everything that you're saying, how does that play a part now that social media is all in our faces?
Yes, well, a lot of us are thinking about that. Things have been changing so fast. We don't have all the data and all the information that we want. But I think people are making a pretty good case that the sustained attention is much more difficult.
Yes.
Is more of the what they call the monkey mind, that it jumps around because you're always getting uh, things clamoring for your attention, and anytime you get bored for a moment, you can go onto your phone and check your social media presence, or play
Yeah.
games, or text some friends, or do email. So you're always involved. I'm writing a big review article on that, where we've been reading lots and lots of the
Good.
scientific studies. The idea, which seems to be holding up, is that the human self, the psychological aspect, isn't fully there when you interact online as much as when you're interacting with a person face to face. We spend a lot of time engaged in social interaction when we're physically alone,
Mhm.
right? Since that's what I'm doing now.
Yes.
Uh, Nobody else here, but we're communicating. I spend a couple hours a day on email, which
Yes.
is even less. I mean, here you and I can at least look at each other, pictures of our faces, and respond in real time. Whereas email, you send it off, and somebody might respond tomorrow, or maybe not till next week, and uh, so there's less engagement. It makes people somewhat less inhibited. So when you're not in person, people are more likely to bring up a lot of other ideas and
Yeah. Yeah.
to criticize and so on.
Yeah.
But the ideas tend to be of lower quality, and you're just throwing out a lot more stuff. I think people are starting to realize too that the physical safety feeling from interacting online is compensated for a great deal of danger. If you say the wrong thing or write the wrong thing, it will stay out there forever.
Right.
I was I spent this past semester at Harvard, and there's some news stories about people who were accepted. It's a big moment in a kid's life to get accepted to
Oh, no.
certainly one of the very best universities in the world. And then they found out that they said something objectionable back when they were 14 or 15, and
Yes.
just clowning around or whatever. But they put something on a post that, oh, and then Harvard cancels their admission. That's a lot of responsibility to put on a kid to realize everything I say could come back to haunt me in the future and really derail my career plans. Um,
Absolutely. And it happens in careers, at employment and jobs, and it's all
yeah,
over the place. And then you deal with things like that. And then as I think about as what we're speaking about, self-control goes out of the window. I really think that it's going back to that and learning all of this. This would be great to learn prior to starting to post and saying what you're saying. But I think
yes.
it goes back to free will. How do you define free will?
All right. Well, a lot of the argument's been about how to define it. So I use a scientific definition that a bunch of scientists and philosophers came up with a few years ago, which is just the ability to act differently in the same situation.
Hmm, that
Um,
was clear cut and to the point. I like
yeah,
it.
yeah. I mean, there are other people think it means, a soul reaching into the brain and causing behavior without any physical action or anything like that. And so a lot of scientists don't believe it when it's defined in those terms. And I guess I agree with them.
Yeah,
But in terms of being able to act differently in the same situation, to be flexible, that's really good. You can see why that evolved and why that's especially important in culture where we're creating multiple situations for ourselves all the time, whether it's we're recording this at Christmas, whether you're shopping for presents and deciding what of all the possible things you could get, what do you want to get for people, or you're saving money for the future so you can buy a house or send your children to college or have enough money when you retire. All sorts of things like that
yeah,
require an advanced mental capacity to deal with them. And the same with performing your roles in a society. I mean, chimpanzees are our closest relatives. They don't have any restaurants. Uh, they like cooked food when we cook it for them. Most animals
yeah,
do. But no animals have mastered cooking, whereas pretty much all human societies do. And cooking is much healthier. It vastly reduces the amount of energy
mm,
you need in order to digest the food. The chimpanzees, I read somewhere they spend 6 hours a day chewing,
yeah.
just because they're eating raw meat and they have to chew it down. Well, eating saves us from that, and also we can go out to a restaurant and have different kinds of food and so on. But if a chimpanzee went in there, it would just grab food off of the plates of other patrons, wouldn't understand the rules of how to order, and they wouldn't pay for the meal and so on. And so the whole business model wouldn't work. It's our shared understanding of these things that enables us to cooperate in this way. It's like trade. The restaurant wants you to buy a meal from
Yes.
them, and you want to buy a meal from them. And so if it works, you're both better off. So it's a form of cooperation, but
Yeah,
you have to have an advanced enough free will to understand the rules, to obey them, play your part, do what you're supposed to, and take advantage of it.
absolutely. You have such knowledge and experience in this. What's your why? What's your big why?
Well, a while ago, I set myself the goal of trying to understand what human life is all about.
Yeah.
I was raised by some parents who had certain very strong views, and I rebelled against those, and so I didn't feel loyalty to those. But they had some good points too, so I didn't just go to the opposite. And I said, oh, people can talk me into things. I really want to learn to be very disciplined in my thinking. Want to
Mm,
explore both sides, and and come away with a big understanding of why we're here and what we're doing and what we're supposed to be doing, and um, why society is the way it is. So
Yeah.
that's my quest for the big picture, and maybe I'll make it, maybe not. I've made some progress.
Yes, yes. And as you continue on and the world changes, I think you'll have more work to do because
Yes, yes.
what
Well, fascinating new things. I mean, 30 years ago, nobody knew we'd be debating whether the internet was bad for kids,
yeah,
or
yeah,
um, or new forms of warfare, and all sorts of things. I mean, other problems go back, but the global economy is also a fairly modern development.
yeah.
It's been, among other things, it's reduced warfare. As nations discovered, it was better to trade with each other than to send armies to destroy each other's cities. So that itself has been improved. So anyway, things do keep changing,
Yeah.
uh, but there is a fundamental human nature that doesn't change nearly as fast.
Thank you for being here today. I'm really happy that you tuned in to Vision Pros Live. I'm looking forward to seeing your reactions as these episodes continue to move forward. This is going to get more and more fun. We'll have more and more engagement as well. We'll invite people to participate in the show. And thank you for giving us your time and attention. Have an excellent time building out your vision and becoming a vision pro yourself.